There has been a major shakeup in the U.S. presidential race as President Biden has taken himself out of the running and is now endorsing his vice president, Kamala Harris.
So CTV National's Scott Hurst is following all the developments south of the border. Scott, good morning. So Joe Biden's resignation from the presidential race is another seismic twist in U.S. politics. What brought it to this point?
Good morning, Nick and Jen. Quite a stunning moment in U.S. politics, although not unexpected, as we've been talking about this for many weeks now, as there have been growing calls for him to step aside. And those calls really started to reach a fever pitch after that disastrous debate performance in late June. Many senior Democrats started to question whether he could serve another 4 years. However, Joe Biden resisted calls to step aside, basically saying about the debate night, it was just a bad night, and that's all it was. And so he resisted calls for quite some time as more and more senior Democrats went public to say he should step aside. But also many major political donors were starting to question whether he could serve another 4 years. And so you kind of put this all together, senior Democrats saying he should step aside and major political donors potentially threatening to stop the cash flow leading up to this election, calling for him to step aside, all that together, culminating with his stunning decision yesterday, which no doubt not just has shockwaves through the American electoral system now, as we're just a couple months away from the November election, but also through allies and everywhere around the world, particularly across the border here in Canada.
Yeah, we're definitely watching closely, Scott. In the meantime, you know, Biden's already endorsed Kamala Harris, as have the Clintons. Seems like Obama will likely come around to this year. So what happens now, and is potentially anyone else in the running?
Yeah, potentially this is now a mad dash to replace the top of the Democratic ticket, as we're just several weeks away from the Democratic National Convention, where the nominee officially becomes the official candidate for president. Obviously, we saw the Republicans do it just this past week as Donald Trump officially accepted the nomination. And so right now, even though Joe Biden has endorsed his vice president, Kamala Harris, technically, it doesn't mean anything. It's all about the delegates, and with him stepping aside, it means all those delegates that were pledged through the nomination process could really go anywhere and throw their support behind anyone. However, because of the endorsement from Joe Biden, of course, it likely puts Kamala Harris in the driver's seat here. Harris, in a statement, saying, "I'll do everything in my power to unite the Democratic Party." However, the Democratic Committee, which runs the convention, says in the coming days the party will undertake a transparent and orderly process to move forward with a united Democratic Party. But there are other people who could throw their name into the mix. Some names we've been hearing over the last couple of weeks, as there are a lot of questions about Joe Biden's future, include Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, and California Governor Gavin Newsom. However, the last three, Shapiro, Buttigieg, and Newsom, in the last 24 hours have already thrown their support behind Kamala Harris. And so there are two paths here, whether the party rallies behind Kamala Harris right now and more or less appoints her the next nominee, or they go to a contested open convention, which at this point, Barack Obama supports that road ahead. So we'll have to wait and see over the next days. We'll likely get a lot more clarity, as there isn't a whole lot of time here, guys.
And never a dull moment, that is for sure. All right, CTV National, Scott Hurst. Scott, appreciate this.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Scott.